Welcome back, everyone. We're jumping right into a really powerful and urgent critique of governance, moral philosophy, and executive leadership today. We're looking at a profound piece of writing by Dr. Faith Oniya titled My Heart Cry for Nigeria. So if you're a government official, a religious leader, or really just a student of systemic management, consider this explainer your high-level keynote on Dr. Oniya's work. We're going to examine exactly why systems fail, how corruption is actually baked right into institutions, and what a real executive blueprint for generational stewardship actually looks like.
Okay, let's dive into this with a quote from Dr. Oniya that pretty much frames our entire philosophical problem here. Everything that dies when you die is not legacy, it is activity. Just think about that for a second. So much of what we call leadership today, it's just noise. It's kind of just this temporary rearrangement of resources that's going to be rearranged all over again the second the person in charge steps down. True legacy, at least according to the author, is about building structures that survive the self. Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll be covering the anatomy of parasitic leadership, educating youth in selfishness, the failure of moral institutions, being trapped in broken systems, architecting proactive institutional change, and finally, legacy as generational healing.
All right, starting with Section 1, the anatomy of parasitic leadership.
From an executive management perspective, Dr. Oniya makes a pretty bold argument. He says that what is often labeled as governance is actually just parasitism. And this brilliantly illustrates the contrast. A true leader is someone who asks what they can contribute to a future they won't even be around to fully inhabit. They're focused on systems and sacrifice. But a parasite, their vision basically stops at their personal bank account and the next election cycle. They're just extracting from the present, completely at the expense of the future. Moving on to Section 2, educating youth in selfishness. According to the source, our current system is actively educating youth in what Dr. Oniya calls a gospel of selfishness. I mean, when kids look at society, they're learning that success is purely about luxury, personal advantage, and basically outsmarting the system. But a nation is supposed to be a shared project, right? It's not just some marketplace or an arena where the most ruthless thrive while everyone else is left behind. When the focus shifts entirely to the self, the whole unified national project just dissolves. To counteract this culture of selfishness that's being taught in schools and society, the author grounds his critique in some really profound moral philosophy. He points to the ancient African concept of Ubuntu. It's the understanding that I am because we are. Teaching this value is presented as the essential counter-narrative. It's grasping that my freedom and my prosperity are intimately connected to yours. We have to start thinking way beyond our isolated ethnic or family units. Which brings us to Section 3, the failure of moral institutions. Here, Dr. Oniya levels a heavy, really impassioned critique at religious leaders. He argues that the church has largely failed to be a prophetic voice for justice. Instead of acting like the early martyrs or prophets who actually spoke truth to power, many have just weaponized their platforms to build personal empires. They're preaching prosperity to people who literally cannot feed their children, and they act as spiritual legitimizers, essentially becoming chaplains of a corrupt system who bless the powerful while totally ignoring the root causes of poverty.
Next up, Section 4. Trapped in broken incentive systems.
Now, what's really interesting about this analysis is how it breaks down the systemic nature of corruption. Because it's not just about bad people doing bad things. Look at the choice architecture here. If a civil servant takes path A and follows the rules, their family suffers because they're chronically underpaid. But if they take path B and bend the rules, their family thrives, even though the system decays. The author argues that broken incentive structures essentially force even well-meaning leaders into corrupt choices. The system itself is literally designed to reward personal gain over the public good. And man, the consequences of those choices are incredibly far-reaching. Let's trace the systemic ripple effect of corruption as it's described in the text. Step 1. Funds meant for a road are stolen. Step 2. The road never gets built. Step 3. Because there's no road, a farmer can't get his produce to the market. Step 4. The farmer's family starves, and the child drops out of school, entering a cycle of multi-generational poverty. So one single act of theft at the executive level cascades down and destroys countless lives. This leads to a profound moral weight that Dr. Oniya really wants every leader to grasp. Corruption isn't simply the theft of money. It is the theft of possibility. It is the theft of the future. By focusing only on short-term extraction, leaders are systematically destroying the potential of the next generation. It's a heavy thought, right? Let's move to Section 5, architecting proactive institutional change. So, what's the blueprint for fixing this? Well, the author argues we have to completely shift our administrative approach.
Right now, governance operates almost entirely through reactive crisis management. You know the drill. It's about putting out fires, running from emergency to emergency, and focusing entirely on surviving the next election cycle. Dr. Oniya proposes a major shift toward proactive systemic design. This means asking where the nation should be in 50 or 100 years, and actually designing the institutional architecture to get us there, rather than just reacting to the chaos of today.
To actually pull off this proactive change, we need specific administrative strategies. Because let's face it, good intentions aren't enough. They die with the individual. Instead, we have to build systems that survive beyond current leadership tenures. We need to define clear, incredibly compelling purposes for every institution so they aren't just existing to perpetuate themselves. And absolutely crucial here, we must implement structures that actually incentivize integrity. We have to shift the focus from individual goodwill to strong, collective, sustainable mechanisms.
And finally, Section 6, Legacy as Generational Healing. Dr. Oniya notes that Nigeria, like so many nations, struggles with artificial colonial borders. But look at how systemic failure makes this infinitely worse. Step 1, governance fails to deliver equitably. Step 2, because the system is completely unfair, national trust erodes. Step 3, citizens, feeling unprotected, retreat into isolated ethnic and religious identities just to survive. And Step 4, the unified national project fragments. Broken systems actively hinder unified national development and just pour gasoline on the fire of tribalism.
So, the absolutely crucial point is this: institutions are means, not ends. To heal those deep cultural and ethnic fractures within a nation, leaders have to embrace legacy-based stewardship. This means working for a future you will not fully inhabit. According to the author, it's really the only viable pathway to transcend tribalism, restore trust, and rebuild the shared destiny of the nation.
I want to leave you, especially those of you currently in positions of government or religious authority, with this final provocative thought from Dr. Oniya's text. Ask yourself, are you building a legacy that will outlive you, or are you just temporarily rearranging resources? True greatness isn't measured by what you accumulate, but by what you leave behind. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this architectural blueprint for change sparks a whole new way of thinking about leadership and legacy in your own work.